What would I say if I told you that the most unforgettable sex experiences aren't about how you look naked? While the world fawns over youth and perfection, neuroscience has discovered something game-changing. There are 7 neurological triggers that make imprints that last, and they need something that only emotional maturity can offer. The women who build the deepest intimate connections aren't the kind of women society suggests they ought to be. They're the ones who grasp the secret of how vulnerability is power and authenticity is magnetic. And if you've ever asked yourself why some women have a seemingly mystical skill at drawing in their partners, while others fail despite doing everything perfectly, you're going to learn the science behind unforgettable connections. The response is likely to catch you off guard. A month ago, I got a letter from Sarah, a 47-year-old executive with 18 years of marriage under her belt. "My husband gazes at me the way he did when I first met him," she wrote. "But I'm better than the woman I used to be. How can that be?" This is not an isolated incident. In my 20 years of research, I've seen something incredible happening to women in their 40s, 50s, and beyond. They're not merely remembering their sensuality, they're tapping into levels of magnetic connection they never knew were there. The key isn't hidden in any beauty magazine or technique book. It's inside learning how the human brain actually connects, how memory is created, and why some encounters remain unforgettable while others dissipate. Through brain imaging research and interviews with thousands of people, I've pinpointed 7 exact elements that form what I call emotional imprints, connections so profound they rewire how a partner perceives and craves you. These elements don't ask for youth, perfect physiques, or complex techniques. They ask for something much stronger, the insight born from really knowing yourself. Here's what revolutionized everything for me. When I ceased to consider what causes relationships to work and began to learn about what makes them unforgettable, the most magnetically compelling women weren't the ones the world reveres. They were the ones who had learned to take their deepest vulnerabilities and turn them into their greatest strengths. As depth psychology instructs us, there is an archetypal wisdom in the wise woman that goes beyond the merely physical. Authentic magnetic power comes when we bring together all aspects of us, our light and dark, our hardness and softness, our clarity and enigma. The first factor that totally alters the masculine experience is one I refer to as authentic neuroemotional validation, and this is what most women don't get. It's not about pretending, performing, or being noisy. It's something altogether different. When a guy is getting genuine, honest words coming from your true experience in intimacy, his brain dumps a waterfall of dopamine that builds strong emotional connections. I am not referring to acting moans. I am referring to lines such as, "I love you, what you're doing makes me wild. I love feeling like this with you." Do you know what goes on neurologically when you say this truthfully? His nervous system translates the fact that he's not only being physically successful, but that he's being noticed, recognized, appreciated as a man. And this engages what we refer to as the primary masculine reward circuit. You who have had healthy relationships, you're aware men, regardless of how self-assured they may appear, have an underlying need to know that they're doing things right with you. This true word validation is akin to injecting directly into his emotional system the assurance that you are content with him, that he brings true enjoyment to you. But let me tell you something that totally turned my whole outlook around: the distinction between manipulative validation and genuine validation. Manipulative validation is from fear, from the desire to placate, from playing a part. True validation is in your own experience of enjoyment, in your ability to be in the present and actually feel what is occurring. I've seen women who had lost their true voice in sex, women who thought they needed to perform, that they needed to fulfill expectations, that they needed to be perfect to be wanted, and when they reclaimed their ability to say what brought them true pleasure without pretending, things altered. I recall in particular the example of a 45-year-old woman who presented to my practice feeling utterly disconnected from her sexiness. She had performed for years what she felt she needed to say in order to please her partner. When she learned to tap into her authentic experience and speak it unfiltered, she not only changed her relationship, but reclaimed a piece of herself she believed lost forever. This leads me to the second essential building block, what I refer to as spontaneous emotional enthusiasm. This is something that only mature women can provide authentically, because we've learned to link into our own pleasure without shame. Here is something I always notice in my practice. Men are biologically wired to sense whether or not a woman is really there, or whether she's performing. His caveman brain, the part that can't tell a lie, has learned to tell a real response from one that isn't. When you laugh, when you play, when you respond without editing, when you let yourself be spontaneous, you're sending profound neurological messages that are saying to his system, she's here, she's happy, this is real. And that truth builds what we refer to as high-intensity emotional memory. I've watched great women lose their spark by thinking they had to perform, by thinking they had to be flawless, by thinking they had to live up to impossible standards. But the opposite is true. Your presence, your ability to be in your own pleasure, is what produces that indelible bond. And here is something which neuroscience has taught me. When a woman is truly present in her own pleasure, she releases pheromones and energetic cues, which the male brain registers on an unconscious level, and this initiates in him not just physical arousal, but profound emotional connection. The distinction between an acting woman and an available woman is vast in terms of neurological effect. The former can create fleeting physical pleasure. The latter forges durable neural connections, which cause him to think of that experience as something special, irreplaceable, and one of a kind. Your ability to laugh when something really tickles you, to sigh when you're experiencing real pleasure, to move as your body desires to move and not think choreography. It's what produces that magic that goes beyond the physical and comes into the emotional. The third factor that makes it happen is something that may seem like a simplistic thing, but is neurologically strong: sustained eye contact during intimacy. And here's the thing that most women don't get. It's not a technique, it's about genuine emotional openness. When you hold eye contact during those intimate moments, you're stimulating his deepest emotional connection mechanism. Neurologically, continued eye contact releases the attachment hormone oxytocin and forms what we call neuronal synchronization. But this takes something that only emotional maturity can provide: the ability to present yourself vulnerable without being afraid, to be present without concealment, to view him without masks, is a deed of emotional courage that men naturally perceive as something remarkable. You who have learned to understand yourself, who have labored on yourself, who have healed scars, possess the ability to give this genuine presence, and that interaction becomes profound neurological connection that he will never forget. And in step something that clinical training showed me, this eye contact isn't visual, it's energetic, it's emotional, it's wordless communication between two nervous systems that value and recognize each other equally. Many women shy away from eye contact during intimacy because of shame, insecurities, fear of being seen in totality. But when an older woman learns to hold that look, to enable him to see her in her entirety, she establishes a level of intimacy that far exceeds the physical. I've seen that this intentional eye contact enlivens in men what we refer to as soul recognition, that feeling of seeing and being seen at the very deepest level. And that creates a positive emotional addiction, so that they connect the experience with something holy, special, and irreplaceable. Neuroscience reminds us that if two people lock eyes when both are being vulnerable, it produces what we refer to as brain synchronization. Their brain waves actually synchronize, producing an experience of oneness that's beyond the self. The fourth component utterly transforms the dynamic, what I refer to as feminine emotional initiative, and it is all the more compelling for women of experience because we've learned to speak our mind and speak it without shame. Let me tell you about something that sets everything straight. Men are used to dominating, to initiating, to being the ones to pursue. When a woman of experience initiates, not out of desperation, but out of her own genuine desire, she triggers within him something I call validation of being desired. I'm not talking about being aggressive or acting outside your essence. I'm referring to little things that say, I want you, I want you, I love you. It can be something as easy as going and kissing him first, telling him something in his ear, or putting out your hand and taking his and leading him around. What does that do in his head when you do this? His reward loop around feeling chosen, valued, wanted is triggered. For a man, knowing that a woman is seeking him from her true self, not out of need, but out of pure want, it's neurologically addicting. And here's what most women don't realize. This action has to originate in your relationship with yourself, in your ability to hear your own desire and declare it. It's not a method, it's a genuine expression of your mature femininity. But then comes something that I see time and again. Most mature women have learned to suppress this action as a result of old hurts, fear of rejection, socialization. Regaining this ability to verbalize your desire is regaining your most real feminine power. I've worked with women who had lost all capacity for expressing desire, women who waited continually for him to take the lead, who had grown accustomed to passivity, to not giving voice to what they truly desired. And when they regained this capacity, the whole dynamics of the relationship changed. Mature feminine initiative is not juvenile initiative. It doesn't stem from insecurity or the desire for validation. It stems from a place of wholeness, self-awareness, ability to consciously choose. And this is irresistible to the male brain. When a woman of 30, 40, 50 years or more takes initiative from her essence, she's communicating something very real. I choose to be here with you. I want this. I cherish this moment. And that communication creates a profound neurological resonance of connection and appreciation in him. The fifth is arguably the profoundest and most radical, what I refer to as conscious emotional presence. And this is something we can only bring when we've done the inner work of knowing and healing ourselves. I'm going to be real with you. In a culture of superficial contact, disposable relationships, spiritless encounters, true emotional presence is revolutionary. When a mature woman is emotionally present in intimacy, she creates an experience that indelibly marks for life. What is conscious emotional presence? It is slowing the beat when your heart is calling you to embracing, when you can sense a need for connection, breathing synchronically, surrendering to emotions without filtering means being in your body, your heart. Now, men, though few will say it out loud, are starving for this genuine emotional presence. Their nervous system picks up when a woman is really present, when she's not performing or fulfilling expectations, but just being, and that turns them on to what I would call deep attachment system. It's not physical attraction alone, it's not bodily enjoyment, it's soul-to-soul awareness. It's the feeling of being seen, accepted, and appreciated as a whole. Let me tell you something which the neuroscience of attachment has instilled in me. When two nervous systems come together in this real emotional presence, what we refer to as neurological co-regulation is established. Their heart rhythms become synchronized, their breathing harmonizes, their nervous systems soothe each other. This is the distinction between mechanical sex and transformational intimate encounter. And this ability to be present emotionally is something we cultivate with maturity, with self-knowledge, with the ability to be in our own body without shame. I've noticed in my clinical practice that mature women who have done their therapy work, women who have healed early emotional injuries, women who know how to be present with themselves, have a special ability to give this aware emotional presence. It is no accident that so many men pursue relationships with older women after having had shallow connections. There is something in the emotional presence of a woman who understands herself, who loves herself, who has healed herself, that is deeply healing and addictive to the male soul. This knowing emotional presence encompasses the ability to feel and express gratitude when being intimate. When you're able to truly sense what a gift this moment is, what a blessing this connection is, that energy of gratitude transmits and makes a sacred experience. It also encompasses the ability to be present with the feelings that come up. If you feel tenderness, you allow it. If you feel great connection, you share it. If you feel moved by the loveliness of the moment, you share it. This emotional truthfulness is what transmutes a physical encounter into a life-changing one. In Carl Jung's theory of individuation, the process of maturation meant integrating all aspects of our psyche, including our sexuality and our ability for emotional closeness. This integration is what enables us to give such a genuine and potent presence. The sixth component that totally revolutionizes the experience is what I refer to as the art of creative emotional attention. And then comes something that experience has taught me. Male brains have the propensity to react strongly to well-managed anticipation. I'm not referring to manipulative games or intentionally making things hard for fun. I'm referring to something much more refined, the ability to build emotional and physical tension that heightens desire and makes the following encounter neurologically more powerful. This can be as subtle as a touch that lingers just when he craves more. A glance that teases but does not deliver instant words spoken that build expectation. It's the technique of mature seduction, where all movement has intention and all hesitation has purpose. Do you know what happens at a neurological level when you build this deliberate anticipation? His head releases dopamine, not merely during the meeting but throughout the anticipatory period. So he comes to link your presence with anticipatory pleasure, forming what we term positive emotional addiction. But the important distinction is this tension needs to emanate from your own relationship with yourself, from your ability to experience your own seductive power, not from insecurities or desire to control. When it comes from a true source, it's attractive. And along comes something that I always notice. Mature women already have an advantage in this, because we've learned to understand our rhythms, our desires, our timing. We can build this tension out of wisdom, not neurosis. This ability to control timing, to make pauses conscious, to permit desire to build up slowly, is an art that is honed by emotional experience, and men naturally know it as something special. Creative emotional focus also encompasses the ability to build moments of profound emotional closeness, followed by light and playful ones. This fluctuation in emotional intensity keeps the male brain continually excited and engaged. I have witnessed how women who master this conscious tension art are able to maintain their partners in a deep connection, not only during lovemaking, but also in every other area of the relationship. It is as if they had learned to play the strings of the masculine soul with expertise. It also suggests the ability to postpone gratification thoughtfully and temptingly, not because of manipulation, but because of profound understanding that what is being anticipated with yearning is savored with deeper passion. Jung wrote about the need for creative tension during the process of individuation. This same tension applied thoughtfully in the area of intimacy can revolutionize the experience of connection between two individuals altogether. And we arrive at the seventh aspect, which is very likely the most powerful and transformatory, what I refer to as vulnerable authenticity without mask. This is the aspect that transforms encounters into memorable ones and forgettable ones, and it's one that we can only provide if we've done the hard work of embracing ourselves fully. I'm going to share something with you that can shift your orientation forever. The most unforgettable sex for a man isn't the most technically proficient. It's not the most perfect body. It's not the most acrobatic. It's the one in which the woman is entirely present in her truth, without pretending, without acting, without covering up. When you forswear trying to be perfect and just are genuine, when you let your vulnerability hang out, when you let yourself be goofy without editing, you're giving something that's becoming rarer and rarer in this world: pure authenticity. And here's the thing that most women don't get. This authenticity isn't weakness. It's power. It's the strength of a woman who understands herself, accepts herself, and lets herself be seen for the entirety that she is, and that neurologically hooks the male brain. Do you know why? Because when you let yourself be real, you invite him to also drop his mask. And this creates what I refer to as vulnerability synchronization, wherein two souls connect soul to soul, without defenses, without performances. I've witnessed incredible changes when women grasp this. women who thought they had to perform, who had to live up to unrealistic standards, who had to be perfect. They realized that their vulnerable truth is their strongest gift. Let me say something that neuropsychology of attachment has taught me. When two individuals come together in this shared authenticity, deep bonding mechanisms are triggered that transcend the physical, high-intensity, emotional memory is created that endures over time. Your ability to laugh when you laugh, to sigh when you're genuinely pleased, to shake when you're excited, to speak what you genuinely feel without pretenses, without playing it safe, is what makes that unforgettable bond. And then there's something I particularly notice in older women. We've learned from experience that perfection does not exist, that genuineness is what truly bonds, that intentional vulnerability is our emotional superpower. This exposed authenticity involves being open to experiencing the emotions that come up within intimacy. If you're tender, you express tenderness. If you're grateful, you express gratitude. If you're feeling deep connection, you let it in. You don't suppress your real emotional experience. But let me make something clear, something basic. Authenticity is not lack of boundaries or self-respect. It means being true to yourself within a context of self-love and mutual respect. It means expressing your truth from a place of inner strength, not from need or desperation. Vulnerable authenticity also includes the capacity to communicate your real desires, your authentic fantasies, your emotional needs during intimacy, not from a place of demand, but from a place of sharing your inner world. I've worked with women who had spent decades hiding their true sexual nature, adapting to what they believed their partners wanted, acting roles that didn't correspond to them, and when they finally allowed themselves to be authentic, their entire experience of intimacy was radically transformed. This authenticity also includes the capacity to show your imperfections without shame, your marks, your scars, your peculiarities, everything that makes you unique. When the mature woman is able to expose her body and soul without apology, she has an experience of complete acceptance that is profoundly healing for both. Carl Jung described the necessity of accepting our shadow, those aspects of ourselves we like to keep hidden in the arena of intimacy. This acceptance becomes the ability to expose ourselves whole and including our light and our shadow. And this is the way you build really transformational connections. And here's how you can revolutionize your love life once and for all. When you weave together these 7 pieces of your mature authenticity, you not only build legendary moments with him, but you reclaim your own relationship with your deepest feminine power. I know that if you've been hurt, if you've had experiences where you were not valued, if you felt like you needed to perform to be loved, it can be scary to let yourself this true vulnerability. But I promise you, it's the way to true connection. Because the thing is this, the sex that brands for life is not technical. It's emotional. It's not perfect. It's real. It's not performed. It's perceived. And when a woman who is fully grown knows this and embraces it, she's magnetic in a way that goes beyond the material. Your emotional intelligence, your ability to be present, your presence of being you without shame, your wisdom for creating conscious tension, your power to validate from authenticity, your gift to initiate from authentic desire, and your ability for vulnerable eye connection are the most potent resources you possess. You don't have to be younger, you don't have to have another body, you don't have to master difficult skills. You must tap into these parts that already exist in you, that have been distilled through your experience, that have become deeper through your own growth. And when you do, when you let yourself be this genuine and powerful you in intimacy, you not only make experiences with him unforgettable, but you reconnect with your own most intense and most transmutative feminine self. I've seen women of 40, 50, 60 years rediscover their seductive power in ways they never imagined possible. Women who believed their best years had passed discover that actually their most magnetic and powerful years were beginning. And this happens because true seduction, the one that marks and transforms, doesn't come from youth or physical perfection. It is born of self-knowledge, born of emotional availability, born of the ability to love without illusion, born of the kind of wisdom that can be acquired only through living, feeling, healing. Remember that each emotional scar you've healed has provided you with more ability to empathize. Each wound you've transmuted has provided you with more depth. Each experience you've had has provided you with more wisdom to truly connect with another human being. Because ultimately the sex that truly leaves a mark, the sex that is etched in emotional memory for all eternity, is the sex where two human beings come together in their deepest, most open, most honest human selves. And that ability to encounter honestly is the greatest gift you can give and receive. This is your greatest strength as an adult woman. You don't need to compete with younger versions of yourself or with other women. Your power lies in something completely different and unique. It lies in your capacity to create real emotional intimacy, to offer authentic presence, to love without fear, to connect soul to soul. And when a woman embraces this truth and lets herself live it fully, she becomes a force of love so strong that she revolutionizes not only her relationships, but her whole experience of life. Because when you know who you are and let yourself be it fully, you emanate a magic that is purely irresistible. A magic that does not rely on youth, the ideal body, or mastered techniques, but on something far greater, the ability to be yourself in all your glory. This is the real revolution of the mature woman, seeing that our seductive strength does not fade with age, but instead evolves, becomes richer, more genuine, and hence more potent. When you accept this truth, you not only change your lovemaking life, but you become a light of authenticity that lights other women on the path of reclaiming their own power. Emotional maturity is the strongest aphrodisiac there is, because it suggests the ability to be fully present, to love unconditionally, to connect from the deepest truth, and that is sorcery that no method can instruct, since it is born of experience lived, of the healed heart, of the self-found soul. This is the reality they don't want you to hear. Your best years are not behind you, they're ahead of you. When the world is desperate for youth and perfection, you have something that is 10 times more precious. The magic of experience turned into wisdom, suffering turned into depth, and scars become strength. Each second you believed made you less than has actually been cultivating your most powerful ability. The ability to love without pretenses, to connect without guile, to give presence so real it becomes magnetically irresistible. This is not about competing with somebody. This is not about reversing time. This is about embracing the totality of who you have become. A woman who knows that real seduction doesn't reside in perfection, but in the bravery to be deeply, unapologetically authentic. The 7 pieces I've outlined aren't things to learn. They're reminders to recall who you already are, underneath all of the conditioning, all of the pain, all of the narratives that educated you, that your worth was contingent upon your youths. Your weakness is your strength. Your realness is your attraction. Your emotional intelligence is your revolution. The question isn't if you're enough. The question is, are you ready to recall how amazing you've always been? Because when you do, you don't just revolutionize your intimate relationships. You become a force of nature that alters everything that comes in contact with you. The world needs women who recall their power. Will you be one of